Okay, thank you, Double. All right, folks, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I wanna thank everybody for being here. Good evening, Howard County and Maryland Democrats. Welcome to the inaugural Howard County Democratic Central Committee's Defend Democracy Digital Dine-In. I know that's a mouthful. We have quite a program for you tonight. My name is Shahan Rizvi. I am the first South Asian and Muslim elected to serve the role of chair of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee. Serving this role has been one of my greatest honors, one I take very seriously and not for granted. I also served as an at-large delegate to the DNC this past year, where it was a tremendous honor to cast my ballot for President Joe Biden. Since President Biden has taken office, he finally put the national Trump nightmare behind us and brought the fight to COVID-19. While there are many things to celebrate this evening, folks, there's still so much work to do. Democracy needs defending, and Democrats must build on the historic voter turnout of 2020 and bring it for the midterms in 2022. The Republican threat is far from over. As we speak, measures are being taken across the country to suppress voter turnout. We cannot and must not get comfortable. Luckily, we have the protection of great Democratic leaders right here in the state of Maryland who are with us tonight, and some you'll hear from, that are helping us protect the rights of Howard County citizens.
Are you at the Central Committee meeting?
Tonight, Howard County is blessed to be in the presence of our new Democratic National Committee Chairman, Mr. Jamie Harrison. Thank you, sir, for doing this tonight, and we look forward to your keynote remarks later. There are many thank yous in order for this evening. First and foremost, I have to thank our fundraising chair, Ms. May Beal, for the incredible job she's done tonight in organizing the efforts and logistics with this program. You go, girl. I'm so proud of you, Ms. May. Truly a historic fundraiser for us, one that brought a record number of sponsors, and we'll be sure to recognize them throughout the program. But I do want to give a shout out to our top sponsors, our Protector of Democracy sponsors this evening, Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosch, thank you, sir. Congressman Kwaisi Mfume, thank you, sir. Congressman John Sarbanes, thank you, sir. And Irfan and Ira Malik, thank you for being our protectors of democracy. I also want to thank our treasurer, Double Shah, for all his efforts in handling meal orders today. He really stepped up in a big way. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for all your work behind the scenes. I do want to also thank my Howard County Central Committee Executive Board, our co-chair, Ms. Alicia Altamirano, first vice chair, Herb Smith, second vice chair, Ms. Regina Clay, third vice chair, Jeremy Eldridge, our treasurer, Double Shah, corresponding secretary, Gabriel Moreno, and our recording secretary, Ms. Linda Bolin. Thank you to this group. Since day one, they have supported my grand illusions of growing a Big Ten party in creative ways, of course, and they hold me down. Truly doers who are serious about getting party work done, and all on volunteer hours, mind you. As I find my footing in this newfound chair role, I grow amazed at the talent I meet in the Maryland Democratic family, many who are women leaders. I want to thank a few powerful chairwomen tonight that are accepted my invitation for tonight's event, and their support of Howard County Democrats. Thank you, Chair Linda Foley, Chair of the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee, for your leadership and your friendship. Thank you, Dr. Crystal Francis, Chair for the Baltimore County Democratic Central Committee. Thank you for being here, supporting us. Thank you, Chairwoman Jeanette Flame, Chair of the Calvert County Democratic Central Committee. Calvert Democrats are among tonight's sponsors, and we appreciate you and our collaboration with our counties. Of course, I have to thank Chairwoman Yvette Lewis for the Maryland Democratic Party, her incredible leadership and amazing job in ensuring our state party's finances are top notch. I gotta say, based on the last statement I saw, we're definitely bringing the fight to Republicans in 2022. Ain't that right, Madam Chair? I know we are. I do want to thank the Maryland Democratic Party for their support and efforts in getting us this fundraiser tonight. And lastly, I do want to thank former state party chair, Mr. Terry Lierman, an incredible person who I've come to admire, and I really thank for tonight's success for our program. Ladies and gentlemen, before we dive into tonight's program, I got to share a little bit about what makes the Central Committee so unique and special in the entire state of Maryland. Among them, our membership is one of the most inclusive and diverse Central Committees in our entire state, one which represents African Americans, Latinos, Asians, Muslims, Hindus, Jews, atheists, teachers, climate change diplomats, so many flavors, and we're not talking Baskin Robbins now. This wasn't by design. We achieved this diversity by being deliberate about equity and inclusion. When this Central Committee ran for office in 2018, It ran with a singular mission of cultivating the next generation of community leaders who stood for equity and inclusion, not diversity, but equity, inclusion. Making this mantra deliberate, Howard County residents took notice and elected one of their most diverse central committees in the entire state, right here in HOCO. It started with the election of HOCO's first African-American woman chair to our central committee, Ms. Maureen Evan Arthurs. And then it continued to move forward with the election of Howard County's first South Asian and Muslim chair for the central committee, which is I, Shahan Rizvi, and it's an honor I hold very sacred. So diversity is great, Shahan. What did this mean for the party? Did you guys get Democrats to turn out? Boy, did we ever. Miss Regina Clay, if you don't mind showing some data with us, please. Folks, this comes from the state of Maryland. This is our official turnout by party and county, 2020 presidential general election. Now, Regina, if you could scroll down for me just a second, please. I want everyone to check out the Democratic column down here. If you can go down to Democrats, please, a little bit further down. Yep, a little bit further down, right there. Folks, if you look at the screen here, this is the Democratic turnout data, okay? I want you to pay attention to the Howard County column over here. If you look at Howard County's complete voter turnout, it was 118,000 folks that came out. And guess what? 84.14% voter registration turnout. 84.14%. That exceeded the entire county, every state, every county in the entire state. The only one that got close, Montgomery County, with 83.23%. And I do not doubt that at all, due to the leadership, of course, Ms. Chair Foley. Maryland Democratic Party had a big role in this, but it has to say something special that's happening in here, Howard County, folks. If we're deliberate about equity, inclusion, amazing things can happen. And there's a whole coordinated campaign from this group that helped bring the turnout numbers to what you see today. I'm so proud of that. I wanted to make sure people saw that, and we're really doing it, and we're ready for 2022 yet, folks. We really are. Thank you for that. I appreciate you all being here for our Defend Democracy Digital Dine-In. I do want to go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Peter Span to start us off with our invocation. Thank you.
Okay, let us pray. Dear God, we offer up this prayer, asking that your presence would precede all that we do tonight. We pray for our democracy, and we also pray for peace. Peace in our nation as we witness yet another mass shooting in San Jose, California the other day. We pray for peace from police violence against African Americans, as just 2 days ago marked the murder of George Floyd by police. We pray to get into good trouble and prayerfully pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. We pray for peace from internal insurrection. As one whose faith tradition shares the prophet Abraham, I pray for peace in Israel. We think of the words of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel, who said the problem to be faced is how to combine loyalty to one's own tradition with reverence for different traditions. We also pray for peace for the Palestinian people. The Prophet Muhammad once said, none of you truly believes until he wishes for his brother what he wishes for himself. We all share this divine dilemma, this providential problem, this existential experiment of having different cultures yet inhabiting a planet that is uniquely designed for all of us to share at the same time. That is why now more than ever, the words of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are so treasured and timely when he said, we must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools. Tonight, we remember the true ideals of democracy and why we must defend it. We ask tonight that your presence serve as our North Star, constantly pointing toward a commitment to community, a love for humankind, and a passion for justice. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor Peter Span. Next, we'd like to turn it over to someone that has a big thank you. Thank yous in order for someone that's very responsible for tonight, for all the hard work she's done. Please welcome our fundraising chair, Ms. May Beal, ladies and gentlemen. Ms. May, can we get you off mute, please? Unmute.
Unmuted. Am I unmuted now? Okay.
Ma'am, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. And again, welcome to the Defending Democracy Digital Dine-In. I hope each of you will enjoy this historical event we have planned especially for you. My name is May A. Beal, chair of this distinguished event tonight, and I have the awesome pleasure of thanking members of the Fundraisers Committee for their time and effort to ensure the success of our post-pandemic event. It is through their sincere dedication of weekly meetings for months and their commitment to hard work that I feel confident the success of tonight's event is due entirely to this active participation of this committee. And so to each fundraising committee member, I wholeheartedly thank each of you for accepting and fulfilling your committee assignments and responsibilities. I thank you for giving of your time away from your families and loved ones, and for the expertise you brought to each meeting. Your experience, skills, and talent have made this event a reality. And where would we be without the extra effort of the committee chair? I sincerely thank you for accepting your roles with the spirit and desire to serve others. The support of each chair and its members is deeply appreciated. At this time, I would like to briefly introduce to you the outstanding fundraising committee for the 2021 fundraising event. The members are Linda Bolden, Scott Berkowitz, Kim Drake, Jeremy Elkridge, Lillian Norris Holmes, Tim Lattimore, Jessica Nichols, Shahan Risby, Deborah Shaw, Herb Smith, and Peter Spann. Many of us went a step further and offer sponsorships to the young, them, and to seniors to ensure they had an opportunity to be part of this event and to make certain everyone who wanted to come could attend. Other committee members who sponsored scholarships were Jennifer Jones, Maureen Evans Arthur, Najee Bailey, and a special thanks to Delegate Attenborough for her sponsorship. Thank you to those of you who donated your meals. Because of your generosity, you made it possible for us to donate 51 dinners to the clients of Grassroots for their enjoyment tonight. Grassroots is an organization in Howard County that provides services to the underserved population. I would be remiss if I did not thank our dynamic keynote speaker, Jamie Harrison, chairman of the Democratic National Committee, our awesome chairwoman of the Maryland Democratic Party, Yvette Lewis, our very own county executive, Calvin Ball, our elected officials, and each of you, Howard County residents, friends, and enthusiasts around the state of Maryland and beyond, who took time away from your busy schedules to be with us this evening. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support and ensuring the continued success of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee. Also, our restaurant partner, Chad Smith Price, owner of Ranazul, who provided the delicious meals for tonight's event. Dakia Patterson, owner of the Lachey Enterprise Public Relations, for designing the flyer of tonight's event. And John Statter of the Creative Print Group for assistance with the programming. If I omitted anyone, please charge it to my head and not my heart. Democrats recognize democracy needs defending, and come 2022, Howard County will be ready. 2022, here we come. We are fired up and ready to go. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. May. Appreciate you. Amazing, amazing speech, and thank you for all your efforts tonight. Next, I'd like to move it right along to our co-chair, Ms. Alicia Altamirano, co-chair of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee, one whose expertise I continuously rely on, who gives it to me straight, and I appreciate her collaboration. Ms. Altamirano.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. It's my honor to introduce the sponsors and elected officials. If somehow I have missed someone, please add your name to the chat or chat with me privately and let me know, because we do want to acknowledge you. And so I will start with the Howard County Central Committee. Chair, Shahan Risby. Second chair, me, Alicia Altamirano. First vice chair, Herb Smith. Second vice chair, Regina Clay. Third vice chair, Jeremy Elridge. Corresponding secretary, Gabriel Moreno. Recording Secretary Linda Bolin, and Treasurer Dawal Shah. And for the other committee members, May Beal, Najee Bailey, Dr. Scott Berkowitz, Kimberly Drake, Maureen Evan Arthurs, Josh Freedom, Safa Nita, Jennifer Jones, Tim Latimer, Jessica Nichols, Dr. Lillian Norris Holmes, and Peter Spann. And now I will proceed with the sponsors. Protectors of Democracy, Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosh, U.S. Congressman Kwesi Mfume, Iran and Aram Malek, U.S. Congressman John Sarbanes. And now Champions of Democracy and candidate for governor of Maryland. Yes, Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot and former Obama U.S. Secretary of Education John King. For District 2, Maryland State Senator Dr. Clarence Lamb, Maryland State Delegate Eric Ebersol, Maryland State Delegate Jessica Feldmark, and Maryland State Delegate Dr. Terry Hill. For District 13, Maryland State Senator Guzzone, Maryland State Delegate Vanessa Atterbury, Maryland State Delegate Shane Pendergrass, Maryland State Delegate Jen Terrassa. And for District 46, State Delegate Brooke Lierman, candidate for Maryland Comptroller. And from Howard County, we have Howard County Executive Dr. Calvin Ball, Clerk of Howard County Circuit Court Wayne Roby, Howard County Councilman District 2 Opal Jones, Howard County Councilman District 3, Councilwoman District 3 Christina Mercer Rigby. And from the Democratic Central Committee members, we have, starting with Calvert County, Chair Janet Flame, Vice Chair Dwayne Roger, Associate Member Lauren Eller. And for Howard County Central Committee, we have the third Vice Chair, Jeremy Eldridge, and Treasurer Dawal Shah. And for the Maryland Democratic Party and DNC AAPI leaders, we have Chair Devon Shaw, Chair of the, Maryland Party AAPI Caucus, Devon Shaw, and Chair of the AAPI Caucus, Belong Hong. For champions and supporters, we have Mary Catherine Cochran, who happens to be a former Howard County Democratic Central Committee member. We have former president of the Columbia Democratic Club, Sean Ford, former member of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee, Sue Geckel, former chair of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee, Abby Hendricks, former member of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee, Deanna Peel, former Howard County Democratic Central Committee member, Marsha White, and we have also Becca Knight. And now for the elected officials, and please remember, if I miss someone, if someone jumped in last on our list, please, and we're not called out, please let us know. We have, in no particular order, we have Maryland State Delegate District 46 and candidate for Maryland Comptroller, Brooke Lierman. We have Howard County Register of Wills, Byron McFarland. Maryland State Delegate District 9B, Courtney Watson. Howard County Clerk of Court, Wayne Roby. Maryland Attorney General, Brian Frosh. Maryland District 12 State Senator, Dr. Clarence Lamb. Maryland District 12 State Delegate, Jessica Feldmark. Maryland District 12 State Delegate, Dr. Terry Hill. Maryland District 12 State Delegate, Eric Ebersol. Maryland District 13 State Senator, Guzzone. Maryland District 13 State Delegate, Vanessa Atterbury. Maryland 13 State Delegate, Jen Terrassa. Maryland District 13 State Delegate, Shane Pendergrass. We have Madam Chair, Yvette Lewis, Devon Shaw, and Bell Long Hong. We have Maryland Comptroller Peter Franchot. We have Howard County District 2 Councilman Dr. Opal Jones. Howard County State Attorney Richard Gibson. And former President of Obama Secretary of Education and Governor candidate John King. And of course, never last, never least, Dr. Calvin Ball, our own county executive.
Thank you, Alicia. Appreciate that. That was not an easy thing to do. And I do not sympathize. Thank God I wasn't able to do it. But that's a good segue with the last name, because we are absolutely thrilled to have our Howard County executive, the man with the plan. He has been keeping us alive with amazing rollout numbers here in Howard County for the vaccine. Sir, Dr. Calvin Ball, thank you for all your service to the party. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much, Shahan. Thank you, May, Alicia, everyone who helped put this event together to remind us, while we may be physically distant, we are definitely not socially distant. We are connected, we are empowered, and we will defend our democracy in 2022 and beyond. You know, I often think, as we are going through some of these challenges, where I am so blessed to have worked with and am working with many of not just the amazing elected officials who are here with us, but frankly, each and every one of you who either helped me get elected, helped someone else get elected, or helped us serve to keep people safe. I think back to a time back close to my first race. My first race back in 2002 that I lost, when we had a President George W. Bush, when we had a Governor Bob Ehrlich, and then Council Member Guy Guzzone asked me, am I running again? And of course, you can imagine my response was no, I would not ever run for elective office again. And then Guy asked me some questions, and one of the questions, one of the most poignant questions, one of the questions that still fuels me today, he asked me, why did you run in the first place? And I think about that often. I think about why I ran, that I wanted to serve our community, that I wanted my then very young daughter, who will actually be walking across the stage as a graduate from our Howard County Public Schools this year. I thought about the world we were creating for her. I thought about the environment that we weren't inheriting from our ancestors, but we were preserving for the next generation. I thought about all of the opportunities that many of us may not have had, and definitely those upon whose shoulders we stand as we not only aspire, but inspire. And that fueled me. It fueled me then, and it fuels me now. So I sincerely hope, as any of you who not only live in Howard County and love Howard County, but are just here to visit Howard County, know that Howard County is an amazing and special place, not just because of our proximity, but even more so because of the people, because of the perseverance, because of the investment that we make to our brothers, our sisters, and everyone else, because we will not forget anyone. We will ensure that no one is unseen, no one is forgotten, and we will create the best place for all, and not just merely overall. So thank you, Democrats, for coming together. Thank you, Democrats, for staying together. And thank you, Democrats, for fighting together for our future, for our democracy, and for a better world for our next generations. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Ball. Inspiring words. Thank you, sir. Appreciate all your efforts in Howard County and for us here. Next, I would like to welcome someone that we're going to be honoring in a big way tonight. But first, we just need to recognize the very historical efforts he did with HR 1, our friend, someone who has been very instrumental in supporting the Howard County Democrats for almost many decades, definitely before my time. Please welcome Congressman John Sarbanes. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Shahan. I'll be pretty brief because I'll get another bite at the apple in a few minutes. And I want to thank the Howard County Democratic Central Committee, the Democratic Party of Howard County writ large, for all the incredible work that you do every day, for helping land that incredible turnout that you described at the front end of the event this evening. So thank you for your leadership at this very critical moment. We got to maintain our momentum going into 2022. I know that's what this is about for sure. May Beal, all she has to do is get on there and I start smiling, which is the way she is. You know May. So May, thank you for being the fundraising chair and all the other work that you do out there in the community. You're definitely part of the lifeblood of Howard County. Alicia, thank you to all the officers and members of the Central Committee there in Howard County, to our great county executive in Howard County, who just spoke and is a leader of unrivaled stature within the state of Maryland and certainly a model in terms of what Howard County means for the rest of the country in always being on the leading edge. Salute to him. Yvette Lewis with the state party, who will be talking later, and all my colleagues in elected office who are part of this effort, this broad effort we've undertaken to defend our democracy. And we have to keep defending it. We're going to hear from Jamie Harrison later, and we're so thrilled to have him presenting as new chair of the Democratic National Committee, all the efforts happening across the country at the national level in terms of organizing Democrats. But we know that our democracy is in a perilous moment. I like to say that what happened last November was that 150 million Americans went to the polls, often having to fight their way to the polls, unfortunately, but they got there and they pulled our democracy back from the brink. But sadly, what we saw in the months after the election and then culminating in the attack on our Capitol on January 6th was that this democracy that we love and cherish, that we were able to pull back from the brink, is still very, very fragile. It needs a lot of care and attention. It needs to be fortified. We're blessed in this moment that the Democratic caucus in Congress has been working for years to put together a piece of legislation, HR 1, the For the People Act, now S1 in the United States Senate, that can do exactly that, that can fortify our democracy, protect it, defend it, lift it up, make it all that it can be for all the people in our country. And that really was the goal. This was based on legislation that had been developed by Democratic members of Congress, but some Republicans as well. Many of these provisions in the For the People Act have bipartisan origins. But over the last few years, members of Congress were listening very carefully to the grievances that were coming forward from everyday Americans out there. We want to be able to get to the ballot box without having to run an obstacle course. We want to have faith in how congressional districts are drawn. We want to believe that when members of Congress get to Washington, or when people go to serve in the executive branch or the judicial branch, they will act in an ethical, transparent, and accountable way. We want to protect our democracy against outside attack from foreign actors. And we definitely don't want big money, special interests, insiders, lobbyists, whatever you want to call it, calling the shots in Washington. We want the voice of the people to be protected inside our Capitol. And so all of these grievances we heard, we responded and assembled legislation into one overarching package. That is the For the People Act. We think it meets this moment. You know, sometimes you get the political moment of opportunity, but you don't have the product ready. Other times you have that product, you never get that moment, and it just sits on a shelf. We have this moment because of 2 runoff elections in the state of Georgia on the same day. The state of Georgia being that was represented in the United States Congress by John Lewis for decades, who, by the way, wrote the first 300 pages of the For the People Act. We know that somebody is telling us we have to get this done in this moment. We're not going to let the moment pass us by. It's not an easy thing to do. We know what the math looks like, and we'll hear later from Senator Van Hollen. But we think if there's the will to get this done, there's absolutely got to be the way to get it done and over the finish line. So I'm very bullish. I think we've got momentum. I thank all of you for raising your voices, adding to the chorus, raising the temperature out there that says we have got to get the For the People Act over the finish line. Again, it just comes back to your voice. And the fact of the matter is that voter suppression and partisan gerrymandering is what is used out in the country to diminish the voice of everyday Americans. And we're certainly seeing that stampede of voter suppression across the country. In Washington, it's conflicts of interest and big money that often diminishes the voice of the people. So if we can address all those things, we can lift up the voice of the people. At the end of the day, people should have the right to vote in this country. That's about the ballot box. And they should have the right to have their vote mean something, which is that when you elect people and they get to Washington, they should act ethically. They should act in your interest, not in self-interest or for the special interest. That's what we're trying to achieve with the For the People Act. I cannot thank Howard County enough because your voice has been on the leading edge of this fight. You have lifted up our democracy at every turn. The statistics that Shahan talked about demonstrate that. The elected officials that are on this call that reflect the civic engagement of Howard County demonstrate that. Thank you, Howard County Democrats, for all that you do. We're going to get this legislation over the finish line. We are going to defend our democracy. Thank you. Shahan, I think you're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Sarbanes. Appreciate that. Thank you, Congressman. Folks, we have our DNC chairman here, our keynote speaker, Mr. Harrison. Sir, thank you. Terry loves you to death. He said that you are the man. He's so happy you're here with us. We're happy you're here with us. Let's honor you the right way. Mr. Treasurer, can you please do a proper intro for our chairman tonight, sir? Remember,
Yes,
unmute.
yes, sir. So it's a great pleasure to introduce our DNC chair, Jamie Harrison. Our speaker this evening is an innovator and trailblazer who credits his early education success to his loving family and the good public school education he received. These experiences would help him to be able to earn a scholarship to Yale University and attend Georgetown Law. After attending college, he gave back to the youth of his community by serving as a teacher at his alma mater and working at College Summit. From this beginning, he would work as an aide to the legendary Congressman Jim Clyburn and would make history by being elected as the first African-American chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. In 2020, he ran for the US Senate from South Carolina. Through his run, he built a national grassroots movement while setting a fundraising record for the most money raised by a Senate candidate. He is married to the amazing Dr. Mary Boyd and currently resides in Columbia, South Carolina, where they're raising their 2 sons. I am pleased and proud to introduce to you this amazing trailblazer, innovator, and educator who is just getting started. Join me in welcoming DNC Chair Jamie Harrison.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. I really appreciate that. Thank you for that kind introduction to your chair, Chair Rizvi. Thank you for all your hard work in Howard County. Of course, I am here partly because Terry Lierman, you know, once Terry invites you, he doesn't let up. And he, as you know, he's like a dog on a bone, and I love Terry Lierman to death. Let me also say hello to my dear friend, one of the greatest state party chairs in this country, the chair of the Maryland Democratic Party, my good friend Yvette Lewis. You all have a national treasure on your hand when you have the fact that you have Yvette. I mean, you keep asking her to come back, and I don't blame you because she's just that good. Yvette, is so great to see you, and thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your leadership and all that you do. Yvette is also working on a national level to help us push back and tackle this voter protection and voter suppression efforts that we see going on in this country. And I really thank her for stepping up and leading helping to lead the DNC in our efforts to push back against that. Now, before and of course, I'd be remiss. I know Senator Van Hollen is going to speak, and then Congressman Sarbanes just spoke, and I'm so proud of the work that he's done on HR 1. But you have a tremendous delegation in Maryland, and you should be very, very proud of them, because I know I am, and I'm happy to consider them all dear friends. You know, before I get started, I'd like to also recognize the other speakers that you all have had tonight. The energy and the star power on this virtual stage is it's inspiring. And if you need a lesson on leadership and service, look no further than the folks speaking tonight. Because of them, I feel optimistic about the future of the Democratic Party and the future of America. But most importantly, I'd like to thank all of you. Thank you for your continued support. Howard County has consistently proven to embrace democratic values, and you all are loud and proud defenders of this great democracy of ours. My friends, you are part of much more than just a political party. You're part of a movement. You're leading the forward progress of this country into a better future. When you vote Democratic up and down the ballot, you're making a statement. You're saying that leaders need to listen and address the needs of the people they represent. You're saying that leaders need to act instead of just talk. You're saying that leaders need to do their jobs. Folks, we've seen where this country can go if we elect people who are more interested in their own power, more interested in their own relevance than serving the public good. For 4 years, the White House was controlled by people who did not care about you, me, or anybody else other than themselves. Instead of serving the public, they took every opportunity to serve themselves and their friends. When faced with a once-in-a-century global crisis, we needed leaders. My grandmother used to say, "Don't throw a rock and try to hide your hand." Republicans love causing trouble and then disappearing when people call them out on it. But my friends, what I love about this country is that we fix our mistakes. And the American people turned out in November to fix some very, very big and orange mistakes. We elected President Biden and Vice President Harris. We held on to the House and we took back the United States Senate. And in just 4 months, look at what they did to turn around the inaction of the past 4 years. We are tackling the pandemic head on. No president in modern history has taken office during a global health crisis of this level. But 200 million vaccines later, we're gradually getting this virus under control. We are delivering much needed help to the American people and to American families. In the face of a crashing economy, we cut taxes for families with children, and we also delivered 160 million relief checks. And we strengthened the Affordable Care Act by slashing premiums. We are making investments to rescue and rebuild our economy. Under the Biden-Harris administration, the economy has created more new jobs in the first 100 days than any administration in history. We also extended the small business loan program and provided relief to 4 million small businesses struggling during the pandemic. This is what government looks like when it delivers. This is what government looks like when we elect officials who do their jobs. This is what government looks like when Democrats are in office. And we're not done, my friends. We are not done. We're going to follow the hugely successful American Rescue Plan with the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan. We're going to expand our majorities in Congress and the General Assembly. And we are going to elect a Democratic governor in Maryland. That is something that we are going to do. Folks, like my grandma said, you got to claim it. We're going to claim it, and then we're going to do the work to make it happen, right? Because we know faith without works is dead. We got to do the work, folks, and we will do the work, and we will make sure that that governor's mansion turns blue once again the way it should be. Folks, to get there, we have to start working now. We need you out there organizing. The 2022 election doesn't start next summer after the primaries. It starts today. We need you to establish a presence right now. Listen and learn from your communities. Build those relationships. Let them know that Democrats are here to stay all year, every year. Democrats, we aren't going to ignore a single community. We're going to go reach out to each and every American and make a connection. Just like President Biden, we're going to unite rather than divide. We're going to tell everyone who will listen that if you stand for opportunity, if you stand for safety, if you stand for hope for a better future, then you stand with the Democratic Party. Because the Democratic Party can't just be a political organization, my friends. We have to be a community organization, addressing the everyday needs of people across Howard County, across Maryland, across America. We have to show them that you're not just a Democrat on election day, you're out there every day living a life influenced by Democratic values. You're out there defending democracy. Meanwhile, the Republicans are trying to take democracy away. They're working overtime to stop us from voting. State legislatures have introduced more than 360 voter suppression bills in 48 states. They may not be successful in Maryland, but we've already seen what they want to do in places like Georgia and Florida and Texas. Voting should not be a partisan issue. The right of people to choose who represents them is at the core of America's values. If we want American democracy to thrive, we must put a stop to voter suppression, and we have to preserve the integrity of our elections. Folks like you, I'm committed to lifting up every single voter in this country and guaranteeing fair and informed access to the ballot. At the DNC, we're fighting every day to restore and protect the fundamental right to vote. As chair, it's my personal priority to carry forward the good work we've been doing and to build on the progress we've made. In 2020, we had voter protection staff in 33 states. We invested heavily in technology and data tools, and we proactively helped state parties without resources keep a watchful eye on voter suppression efforts. We expanded our national voter hotline and launched a new voter registration and purge tracker. We improved iwillvote.com, and we filed litigation across the country to protect voting rights. Because of these efforts, we now have the solid foundation to have voter protection programs in all 50 states for the 2022 elections. We're launching our biggest ever voter protection program, and we're embedding voter protection staff in critical states early on. And that's just the beginning, my friends. Over the next year, we will invest $20 million in midterm programs, and we're also going to provide an additional $23 million to Democratic state parties as part of our 2022 midterm strategy. You know, my grandfather used to talk about how there were times here in South Carolina when he couldn't vote. No matter how he tried, the system was built to keep him out. He didn't feel seen as a person. He didn't feel like he was a whole man. In fact, he didn't feel seen at all. My grandfather and I used to always vote together. That was our little tradition. In fact, it was one of the last things we did together before he passed away in 2004. I remember that last time when we went to the polls, I brought him back home and we sat out on the porch. And he looked at me and he said, "Baldy." Now that was my nickname. So none of y'all can call me that. That's just for him. That was just for him. But he said, "Baldy." And I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Never let anyone tell you that you don't matter. Never let anybody tell you that you don't count." Because folks, our vote does matter. Our votes, all of our votes, should count. It's just as simple as that. The DNC is going to do everything in our power to make sure that your vote matters, that all votes matters. We're going to do everything in our power to elect Democrats who are working for the American people. The promise that I have made, not to Democrats, not to voters, not to my family, to myself, is that I am not going to allow my boys to grow up in the world that my grandparents had to grow up in, where they couldn't vote because of the color of their skin or who they are. That is the pledge that we have to make to ourselves. You know, there are a lot of great developments in the weeks and months ahead, but I need you all to do me a favor in the meantime. Folks, I am counting on you. This country is counting on you. I need you all to tell your friends, your families, your neighbors, and your coworkers. I need you to tell everyone who will listen that Democrats are delivering. that they're delivering for the American people. Tell every person you see on a screen or in person that President Biden delivered. Tell them that the president delivered COVID relief and he's going to reimagine and rebuild a new economy. Tell them that Democrats are protecting their right to vote and are committed to defending democracy. That is what leadership looks like. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you all for your steadfast support and for continuing to believe in the positive changes we can make. With all of us pitching in, we can unite people everywhere. Because this is the truth that I have learned from my 45 years on this great planet. This party is special. And when we work together, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that we can't do. So thank you all so much. Thank you for the support you give to the Maryland Democratic Party. Thank you for what you do for the Howard County Democratic Party. And I'm looking forward to that day when I can come to the governor's mansion in Maryland once again and get my crab cakes that only y'all can make in Maryland. So thank you again. God bless you all, and let's win.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chairman of DNC, Jamie Harrison, for those amazing, amazing words. Wow, just incredible. Howard County is so lucky to be blessed with your leadership tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks, what an incredible night. It's been pretty amazing. We had to adjust our program a little bit. And as you heard Mr. Harrison say, we are very blessed in Maryland to hear from our next speaker, who has no doubt made Maryland a very special place and is well positioned to really bring the fight to Republicans in 2022 under her leadership. Please welcome Maryland Democratic Party Chairwoman, Miss Yvette Lewis, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much. I've got to follow Chair Harrison. Really? Seriously? Do we love our DNC chair? Do we love our DNC chair? I sleep at night because I know we are in wonderful hands. He really is a friend. We were new chairs together, and we have remained friends throughout all of these years. No one was more excited than I when he was named as DNC chair, and you can see why from his inspirational words tonight. And I can't wait to see all of the wonderful things that he's going to do. Chair Rizvi, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. And I just have to take a point of personal privilege. I've heard all of you say it, but I love May. I love me, Miss May Beal. You all know I do. And I know you love her, and I can see why. She is a joy. She is a treasure. She lights up a room, and you are so blessed to have her, as you are with all of your Central Committee members. I love the Howard County Central Committee, and I think I've proven that. I showed up on Election Day, and I was there with all of you on Election Day because I love this Central Committee. You produce results. You do such an outstanding job, and you make my job easy. Tonight, though, is so special because you're talking about defending democracy, which is what you do every single day. And we have strong defenders of democracy on this call tonight with Congressman John Sarbanes and HR 1, with all of our federal elected officials, with our state and local elected officials. I know you named them all earlier, and I know I'll miss someone, so I'm just gonna let the wonderful job that Alicia did speak for that. But we are so very blessed here in Maryland to have all of you. Howard County is no stranger to fighting for our democracy. You did it in 2020. And as a county with the highest Democratic turnout in the state, think about that. In the entire state, you had the highest Democratic turnout. All of those registered Democrats that you showed earlier turned out to vote. That led to Biden winning the county by over 71%, a 7% improvement over our 2016 results. Thanks to all of your hard work, Howard County and Maryland sent a message to the world that we're going to restore the soul of America, return decency to the White House, and build our country back better. We've done that. Chair Harrison just spoke about it. In 100 days, we are back on track, passing significant pieces of legislation this century, putting checks in pockets and supporting small businesses and getting 200 million shots in the arms of Americans. And now, the president is looking to make the largest investment in our infrastructure and our middle class since the New Deal. For the first time, the middle class will be part of the growing economy, not the upper class, not the top 1%, but the middle class. But none of this would have happened without you. Not only was your work here in Howard County monumental, but our efforts out of state were crucial to Biden-Harris victory. Maryland's Democratic Central Committees made tens of thousands of calls into states like Pennsylvania and Arizona and Georgia, which in an election decided by a few 100,000 votes, that made all the difference. But look, as you all know, the fight for our democracy isn't over. This fight means defending the most foundational right, the right to vote. Fortunately, here in Maryland, our Democratic General Assembly was able to expand voting rights and access in 2021. But across the country, that has not been the case. Georgia, Florida, Texas, and more than a dozen other Republican states are trying to roll back voting rights and make it more difficult for Americans, especially Americans of color, to vote. Congressman Sarbanes said it. The Maryland delegation is taking on these blatant efforts at voter suppression. H.R. 1 will reform our electoral system, ensure everyone has the right to vote, and put power back in the hands of the people. But the fight won't end there. If we want President Biden to continue building our country back better, the 2022 election cycle will be crucially important. We have a tied Senate and only a few seat majority in the House. So it could all come down to Maryland. We need to defend our Senate seat, hold and expand our House seats, expand our House seats, expand our House seats, Congressional District 1, that's all I have to say. And just as importantly, we need to win back the governorship because it's time Maryland started making real progress. This also extends to local elections because you know, local elections are where the real decisions are made. We need more incredible, hardworking Democratic mayors, and we need to give them the council members and state's attorneys and local leaders up and down the ballot who will work with them for you, for the people. None of this can happen without you. Our democracy is in your hands. So we go into 22 with the mindset that we're going to keep up the hard work that you're doing. And together, we can continue to put America back on track. I had the honor and privilege today of speaking to the Rules and Bylaws Committee. I sit on the RBC committee for the DNC. And they asked me to come in to talk about our successes in Maryland. That didn't just happen. They didn't just call me in because they like me or because they think I'm a nice person. They called me in because Maryland delivered results. And I had real results to talk about. The fact that we were able to flip counties from red to blue. I had real tangible results. The fact that we saw the increase in voter turnout over 2016. I had real results to put out there. The fact that we were able to call into all of these states and make all of these calls throughout the election cycle. I had real results to put out there. And I'm going to continue to have real results to put out there because I have all of you, every single one of you. And I am so proud to be your chair because when I come to events like this and I see that you have invested in your central committee and you're investing your time to sit here on this computer, this Brady Bunch computer, and we talk to each other and we stay connected to each other, that's real commitment. And I want to be there with you. So I make this pledge to you and I'm making it everywhere I go and it is being recorded so you can pull this up to quote me. I will be canvassing with you. I am going to come and canvass with you. I phone banked with you in the last cycle. I showed up for you on election day. I'm going to do the same thing moving forward because I'm not going to ask you to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And I am willing to go to the mat to fight for the Democratic Party here in Maryland, to make sure that we win back the governor's race, we hold on to that Senate seat, we expand our numbers, and we march to victory. I am your biggest champion. I'm your biggest supporter. I am your biggest cheerleader, but I'm your hardest worker. And I will be there with you every single step of the way. As I say all the time, it is an honor and a privilege to be your chair. Let's go out and win this thing next year, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful words. We really appreciate all your efforts here, your leadership. No doubt it has been instrumental and really changed the demographics here and just helping us Democrats be well structured for the future. Folks, I'd like to welcome next young Democrat, President of the Young Democrats of Howard County, Ms. Megan Williams, to intro Senator Van Hollen. Megan, please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Shahan. Can everybody hear me? I hope so. Good evening, everyone. My name is Megan Williams, and I'm the president of the Howard County Young Democrats. I am so thrilled to be here tonight with you all, and I just want to personally thank each and every one of you that sponsored a Young Dem member, and also each and every one of you that helped get Biden elected. So thank you. So as you may know, Howard County Young Democrats are up to a lot of great things in the community right now. I want to highlight, though, that we are fundraising right now for our first ever scholarship for local student leaders in our community. So please help us spread the word about this and consider donating if you can. I'm sharing the link in the chat right now. So thank you for anybody who's already supported. Without further ado, though, I'd like to present you with our next speaker, Senator Chris Van Hollen. Senator Van Hollen has represented Maryland in the Senate since 2017, but has served our state well for years in the Maryland General Assembly and the House of Representatives. He remains dedicated to supporting not only our state, but also our county, as evident in his fierce support for the American Rescue Act. I'm also so honored to be represented by someone so dedicated to his constituents, to a healthy Chesapeake Bay, to racial justice. So the floor is yours, Senator.
Well, thank you, Megan. Thank you for that very warm introduction. Most of all, thank you and the Howard County Young Democrats for everything you do every day to advance our principles and our values, and to elect Democrats to make sure that we can implement that vision. And your votes were so important to electing Joe Biden as president and Kamala Harris as vice president in Maryland and throughout the country. And we're going to be counting on our younger voters, our young Democrats in 2022. As you know, sometimes there's a big fall off in voters, especially young voters, between presidential elections and midterms. And we're going to need every single young voter out there in 2022. Thank you to the chair of the party, Chair Rizvi. Thank you for your leadership, and all the members of the Howard County Democratic Central Committee and all Howard County Democrats. And it is great also to be joined by our great party chair, Yvette Lewis, and I just want to salute her efforts. And I got to hear some of Jamie Harrison's comments as well. Somebody I knew when he worked on the Hill for Congressman Clyburn, and now, of course, is doing a great job as the chairman of the National Democratic Party. Good to be here with my friend Calvin Ball and all the other elected officials in Howard County. And I'm going to say a word about John Sarbanes in a minute as well. But I want to start where Yvette Lewis left off, and just really thank each and every one of you for taking your responsibilities as citizens in this democracy seriously. Not just voting yourselves, that's essential, but getting on the phones, calling our fellow Marylanders to get out the vote. And then when we're sure that we're going to win Maryland, being force multipliers and calling people in other states, those battleground states in the presidential election. And then just a few months later, so many of you getting on the phones and making those calls into the state of Georgia. We have two great new Senate Democrats from Georgia, Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff. And that's a result of the great work of people like Stacey Abrams, but it's also the fact that Democrats from Howard County, Maryland, and across our state were on the phones urging people to get out. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to pass the American Rescue Plan. We needed the White House, but we also needed that majority in the United States Senate, because it was only because Vice President Harris was there to cast the tie-breaking vote that we were able to get it over the top. And the only reason it was a tie-breaking vote was because we won those two Senate seats in Georgia. So we've made a lot of progress as a country in the last few months with our new president, with our new senators and new Senate. And Jamie Harrison talked about the progress that's been made and the progress that's going to be made with your help. We also know this is a very dangerous time in American politics. And I'm speaking to you right now from the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, not very far from the United States Capitol. And later tonight, we expect to have a vote on a very momentous issue, which is whether or not to create a commission to investigate and understand the full truth about what happened here at the Capitol on January 6th. The assault on the Capitol, the attack on our democracy, the effort by a violent mob to try to prevent the Electoral College vote from counting and having the peaceful transfer of power. And by all accounts, Mitch McConnell is determined tonight to filibuster that and prevent us from even having a vote. That's despite the fact that fallen officer Brian Sicknick's mother has been here on the Hill, going door to door, asking Republican senators to do the right thing by her son. And she's been joined by current officers of the Capitol Police who took the day off so that they could exercise their democratic rights and ask Republican senators to do the right thing. But by all accounts, unless something changes, their efforts will have fallen on deaf ears because Mitch McConnell is determined to not allow the American people to hear the full story. He said out loud what we all suspected, which is it's pure politics. He doesn't want the country focused on the big lie and the president's role and Republican complicity. And so he's going to block a truth commission about the attack on our democracy. So that just underscores the importance and danger of the moment, because that big lie has also fueled these Republican legislatures around the country that you all have heard about and know about, to try to put barriers to voting. And they're doing it with very deliberate precision, trying to put up barriers that will make it harder for communities of color to vote, putting up barriers to try and make it harder for younger people to vote. And that is why it is so important that we enact the For the People Act, HR 1, S1, which establishes minimal federal protections for everyone's right to the ballot box. It's pretty straightforward. We need to make sure that that right is protected in every state against these partisan efforts to block access. It also, importantly, would get rid of secret money in politics, so that when corporations are spending those millions and millions of dollars, that voters have the right to know who's trying to buy their vote or influence their decision-making, and not hide behind these nice sounding names like Americans for a Better Future. So we've got to do that. And then, of course, it also includes provisions to encourage more grassroots, low dollar contributions so that our system is not so weighted to big dollar contributions. And John Sarbanes authored that piece, and he's the author of the overall bill. And I'm just really grateful for his leadership on this issue over so many years. And finally, and we all know this, in order to get this done in the United States Senate, we have to get rid of the filibuster. The filibuster is not in the Constitution. It's an invention of the Senate. And it takes an anti-democratic institution, I mean that with the small d, which is the United States Senate, where, Wyoming, with fewer people than the District of Columbia, which by the way should have statehood, but Wyoming with fewer people in the District of Columbia gets the same voting power in the United States Senate as California. So that's already tilted against majority vote in the country. The filibuster just layers on top of that more anti-democratic momentum. And so we've got to change that. And for goodness sakes, what more important moment to get rid of a filibuster, which is anti-democratic, than to make sure that we pass a bill designed to protect our democracy, the For the People Act. So we want to keep putting pressure on all of our members, and the momentum needs to build, because this is a moment of great opportunity. And the president and the American Rescue Plan, American Jobs Plan, American Families Plan, we need everybody on board to do that. But we also need everybody on board to protect our democracy and to make sure that everybody does get out to vote in 2022. So let me thank the Howard County Democratic Party, Howard County Democrats. You do punch way above your weight And we're grateful for all that you do. And I'm grateful for all the support in my efforts to work with you to pass important and progressive legislation, and grateful for all the support the county's given me in my election. So thank you, Howard County Democrats, and let me turn it back over to you. And we will carry on. We will prevail. Thanks to your efforts. Take care. And we're in the fight together with you.
Thank you, Senator Van Hollen. Appreciate you so much, sir. All
Thank
right,
you.
folks. Thank you, sir. All right, folks, moving on into our program. We thought we'd be exploring a different area of defending democracy, one we don't hear too much about, and that is defending democracy for Maryland taxpayers. Our next speaker might know a little bit about that, elected 3 times as Comptroller of Maryland. No stranger to Howard County, might I add. Comptroller Peter Franchot has been out here several times, whether it's the Howard County Fair, engaging the Central Committee, engaging different clubs. He is no stranger here. We welcome him. He is also a candidate for governor for 2022. Our next speaker, Comptroller Peter Franchot. And sir, just remember to hit unmute.
Here we go. How's this? Everybody okay? Shahan, thank you so much for that nice introduction. Boy, you have my most favorite people, 2 of whom were Yvette and Megan, who spoke just before me, and both of them were terrific. Yvette, I can attest, no one is a harder working chair than you, and thank you for assuming this sometimes thankless task with such vigor and energy. So God bless you. And then I heard from Jamie Harrison, what a great speech he gave. Didn't know his nickname was Baldy in his family, but that struck me as appropriate, I guess. But I love the fact that he mentioned deliverables. And Yvette did also. Deliverables, results, things that make it better for all Marylanders and all Americans. And I think that's what the Democratic Party represents. And I just want to thank Yvette and Jamie Harrison. I think I gave Jamie about 60 or 70 contributions last year and the year before. Don't get too excited. I'm limited to $10 in my household. But he ran a great race. He's a great DNC chair, and congrats to the Howard County Democratic Central Committee for recruiting him to come and speak tonight. I also want to thank Sean Ford, who's a tremendous asset to me, who I think got honored tonight along with the other honorees. Let me just comment 2 things, quick things about democracy and deliverables and competent government, I guess, and what Democrats are good at. In the Comptroller's office, we returned this year $3 billion in tax refunds to about 3 million Maryland families. We average 2.5 business days upon receiving their tax return and putting their money back in their bank account. How does that happen so quickly? It happens because we spend years strategizing, managing, working with the system, making sure the technology doesn't have glitches. It takes all sorts of careful preparation in order to do that. Why is that helpful? Well, these families that we're returning refunds to count on the refunds. They need them. They get them every year. It all happens within a 6-week period, generally. Most of the refunds go out then. But they need that to pay their bills. They expect it to give them a little bit of a cushion. Sometimes it's just $1,000. Often under the Earned Income Tax Credit, it's a lot more. But that's the kind of thing that produces a connection between state government and our voting public and our citizens and our residents. Additionally, in the last 10 years, we've collected $8 billion in previously uncollectible taxes from wealthy families and individuals. This was money that they owed, but because they have all sorts of accountants and financial plans and lawyers that can protect them, they can avoid sometimes paying it. Well, we put in place something we call a data center, which combined information from all of the state agencies in Maryland. For example, it will identify for us individuals that own yachts, people that own expensive cars, people that have expensive homes, people that have obviously lots of resources. but people that don't pay a lot of taxes. So we use the data to identify people that we then make calls to, obviously preserving their privacy and confidentiality, and ask them, gee, you have so many assets, but your taxes are so low. Are you sure everything is okay? That's where $8 billion in previously uncollectible taxes have been put together by our comptroller's office, my staff, who do, once again, the management down to the nth detail. But it's a long-winded way of saying what Jamie Harrison and what Yvette Lewis talked about as far as competent government and deliverables is super important to Democrats. I believe it may not be the flashiest of terms, competent government. Obviously, in political settings, it's frankly not as exciting as the normal political rhetoric, but it is the results that make a difference in our people's lives. But it's also results that make it possible for the Democratic Party to challenge some of the forces that Chris Van Hollen was talking about, where people just stand there with their arms crossed and say no. I think it's the best tool for turning rhetoric, which we're great for. You know, we have wonderful speakers and we have tremendous, obviously eloquent comments, but we need to show people that we get results. And it's the difference between good intentions and wishful thinking, and the good management that Democrats are not normally identified with, where we actually deliver on the goals that we all agree on. When you understand it that way, I think competent government is a truly bold, transformational tool that our democracy depends on. Democrats like Joe Biden strengthen our democracy. They improve our well-being because they understand how to wield the levers of power so that the average American and the average Marylander benefits from them. That's the approach to democracy that I've taken during my time as comptroller. It's the approach I plan to take in the years ahead, working hand in hand with advocates like the people who are here gathered tonight. I really appreciate, Shahan, the chance to say a few words, and I'm delighted to be among so many friends in Howard County. I congratulate everybody about the advocacy that the county represents. And thank you for the opportunity to swing by and talk about democracy through the eyes of the tax collector, which is not normally what I'm asked to comment about. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Comptroller. We appreciate your time and your partnership and supporting the Central Committee for so many years. Thank you, sir. All right, moving on. You can't have a Howard County Democratic Party without our hometown hero, because Guy's our guy. Please welcome Senator Guy Guzzone, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Shahan. And thank you for your opening remarks. I heard a lot of pride in what you said, and it's pride well-deserved for equity, for inclusion, and for what we accomplished over the last several elections. And I've been really proud to play a little part in that, as we worked hard to see Democrats win across the board in the county and throughout the state. You know, I'm going to chime in a little bit on what the comptroller just said a minute ago. And I'm going to take it just a little step further about the battle that we face every day. I believe firmly that good policy makes good politics. If we do a good job with the policy, if we do a good job with making things work, the politics usually follow. And the people will see the successes that we have and appreciate the work that's done. And that's good politics. I think the challenge that we face every day is the fact that not all of the members of the other party don't want to make government work, but there's a big chunk of them who don't. That's inherent in what they do. It's inherent in what they believe. They want government out of the way. And there are times when government probably overstretches on something here or there, but but bottom line, government can be a force for good. And I think that's what is fundamental to being a Democrat. Society's challenges are complicated, really complicated. And we dig in and we try to make a difference. And we're not perfect all the time, but we move the ball forward. And we move the ball forward with a belief in our hearts that we've got to make people's lives better. And that's a big deal. It's a big deal that we come together like that. Just even this last year, obviously we faced a crisis, public health crisis. And we came together to do some really good work. But, if we focus in a democracy, in my opinion, we can't just rely on those moments of crisis to bring us all together. We have to work every single day on those tough issues, those complicated things, and dig deeper to try to solve them. We have a great educational system in Howard County, but it's not perfect because not every single child is doing as well and living up to the highest expectations and hopes that they may have. And we can do better to make that happen. And we passed Kerwin, and we recognize that it's not simply about having qualified and great teachers and a great curriculum. It's about a whole host of other things, issues that deal with poverty, issues that deal with mental health. We know that doing the job right takes extra work. It's not simply a piece of rhetoric. It's about actually putting money where our mouths are and putting policy and thoughtfulness to move the ball forward. We passed this year legislation on health disparities because clearly we know from the data, and we've seen the data even when it came down to vaccine distribution, that there's disparities in the way people are receiving health care in our state. And we passed a significant piece of legislation that's going to work towards that. From economic struggles of small businesses, we worked on helping them to get relief this year. The Comptroller mentioned the Earned Income Tax Credit. We passed the Earned Income Tax Credit this year, and it is the most generous in the country to help low-income working taxpayers, and we did it for every taxpayer, no matter who you are, what your background is. It's big stuff. It's making a difference. And that difference, I really believe, is one that I hope will translate and continue to translate to people as they realize how committed we are to improving lives. And, for many, many years, one of the lines I use all the time is, when Democrats win, the world's a better place. And I believe that in my heart because I know you, I know all of you, I know what you're committed to doing. And I know that really knocking on a door and getting on the phone and encouraging people to come out and vote is really more about your commitment simply to seeing everybody's lives be better in our county, in our state, in our nation. That's what it is. That's why we do it, right? We want to make government work better. We want to make it work better to make that difference. I'm proud what we've accomplished over the years. We've always got more to do, and that's, the thing about democracy. We did police reform this year because public safety should be public safety for everyone. That's it, that mentality that we believed in this idea that we're all in this together, every last one of us. And I'm proud to be with you all. I'm proud to be in this fight with you all because it matters. It's about people's lives and moving the ball forward. And I know we're going to keep doing that, and I'm grateful to you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you so much. Remarkable words. And that's why you're our hometown hero out here in Howard County. All right, folks, moving on. We're going to transition over to the next part of our program. Please welcome our third vice chair, Mr. Jeremy Eldridge. Truly a good friend, HOCO's own fixer. Call him when you need to get some sludge out there. Somebody that can just clean up whatever mess is left over. A friendship I value very much, and just a hard worker for Democrats. Please welcome Jeremy Eldridge, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Eldridge. I'm the third vice chair for the Howard County Democratic State Central Committee. There's nothing like a lawyer being called a fixer introducing another lawyer. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to give the first inaugural 2021 Elijah Cummings Defender of Democracy Award. Now, part of the reason that I asked Shahan if I could have this honor is because I was hoping we'd be able to do it in person. A lot of you know I'm only 5'6". Congressman Sarbanes is a solid 6'7". And I was hoping that it would be like White Men Can't Jump. I was hoping it was going to be like Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins. But we're never going to have the luxury of seeing me hit a jumper over Congressman Sarbanes. My 8-year-old daughter said, "What is this award for?" And I said, Congressman Sarbanes attends every single Howard County Labor Day barbecue. It's a perfect attendance award. I don't know if it's because he likes me and Tim Latimer's burgers. I don't know if it's because he just loves the good cake. So it's not the perfect attendance award. So Elena, my daughter, said, "Well, what else could it be?" And I said, "Well, it's not the award for, I don't know, not making us stand in line to have to vote anymore and put up our votes in the mail and not have to wait in the rain." But there goes the thinking of an 8-year-old. In all seriousness, I actually have a reason much closer to that I asked to give this award to you, Congressman. In 1965, my grandfather, Herbert Hoffman, was actually chief of legislation for the Attorney General of the United States. In my office here at home, I have a photograph of my grandfather shaking hands with President Lyndon B. Johnson, and I have one of the pens that was used to sign the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act, as we know, was a piece of legislation that removed a lot of state and local barriers that inhibited African Americans' ability to vote. Your piece of legislation, H.R. 1, is one of the most impactful pieces of legislation since my grandfather shook LBJ's hand only 50 plus years ago. I'm so thankful that I have this honor, and for one very simple reason. To watch you further the work of all of the individuals that I see, all of my friends and colleagues that were out there knocking doors in 18, making phone calls this past year, and doing everything they could to battle voter suppression, even here in Howard County. It is you and many of your colleagues who are bringing the dark money into the light, who are bringing clarity and consequence to voter suppression, and finally bringing the change that we need, want, and deserve. With that, it is my absolute pleasure and my honor to present you with the 2021, the first ever, Congressman Elijah Cummings Defender of Democracy Award. Thank you very much, Congress.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeremy. Those were very moving and powerful words, and I appreciate how heartfelt they were. You know, I get credit for introducing this bill with all that it means, but I have to say that I was really just given an assignment. I stepped up to the assignment, but I was given an assignment of assembling this powerful set of proposals and pieces of legislation that have been developed over many, many years. And as I've said, and I think I pointed out a moment ago when I was speaking to this group, the first 300 pages of this bill were written by John Lewis. It's his Voter Empowerment Act. And so that's really what's driving this forward at this critical moment. No one understood the power of the Voting Rights Act. Obviously, his name is attached to it, or what it means to lift people up across the country and give them the full benefits of the franchise than John Lewis, who more than 50 years ago shed blood on the Edmund Pettus Bridge just for the privilege of casting the vote, marching for that right in America. So we've got to lift up his legacy. And I thank you for acknowledging the power of what's in this bill that we've been able to assemble and now have to get over the finish line, as we said. So thank you very much for those words. I have the award here. It was delivered to me today. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I would like to just make an observation. First of all, being with Democrats is good for the soul. I've been on this call the whole time, and with each speaker, it has grounded me more and more in why the Democratic Party, at this moment in time, I really think is the salvation of our democracy. But the other thing I'll say is to get an award that is named after Elijah Cummings means more to me than you can know. I miss him every day. He and I would always show up at the same places in Baltimore. We both have Baltimore in our district. And that always told me that maybe we had the same values and commitments and principles, that we would choose the same kinds of events. And we didn't know we were each going to be there necessarily, but that's always the way it turned out. He was a mentor to me and an inspiration. And so I'll just tell a couple of real quick anecdotes. You've heard them before, but I want to lift up Elijah Cummings in this moment, who, by the way, was a fierce advocate for H.R. 1. He wrote many parts of the section that deals with ethics and accountability that are included in the second title of the bill. So he was leaning in every minute to make sure that this got over the finish line. And while he's not with us in body, he's definitely with us in spirit. I feel him every day. He tells about how his mother, when she was on her deathbed, beckoned him close. You've heard this story. Whispered in his ear, like her last words almost, were, "Don't let them take the vote away." And he felt that. We feel that. That's what we're fighting to try to make sure doesn't happen in this moment. He also told the story of his father being up in the gallery of the House when he was sworn in after a special election in 1984, and how his father looked down at him, and he could see that his father was crying, and he afterwards asked him, "Why were you crying? Was it because I was being sworn in as a member of Congress?" And his father said, "Well, I'm very proud of you, but that's not the reason. The reason is that looking at you, I saw what I could have been if I had the opportunity to get an education, if I had an opportunity to advance myself. I saw in you what I could have been." The reason I think about that tonight is because in some ways, as much as I miss Elijah, it's a blessing maybe that he didn't see the attack on the Capitol on January 6th, because I think he would have looked back on that story. He would have thought about what it would have meant if his father had been looking down on that House chamber and seen rioters occupying the House of Democracy. And I think it would have broken his heart. So everything's at stake here. And in this moment, the fact of the matter is that Democrats are the last best hope for this country. I wish I didn't have to put it that way, but we are the defenders of our democracy because the other party has walked away. Last week, only 35 Republicans out of 211 voted for a commission to study what happened, a bipartisan commission to study what happened on January 6th. Tonight, it appears, according to Senator Van Hollen and what I'm hearing, that Mitch McConnell will filibuster it so it can't be passed in the Senate. 25% of the Republican Party, according to a poll I just read in the New York Times, sympathize with the QAnon conspiracy theory. And another 60% won't complete, or 55% won't completely dismiss out of hand all of the outlandish statements. That means 80% of the Republican Party is still listening to that group. The Democratic Party right now in this moment is the hope for our democracy. So I want to salute all of those officials who spoke and will come next as being defenders of democracy. But I got to just thank you, the members of the committee, the voters, the activists, the volunteers, the citizens that are on this call for defending our democracy at this moment. And nothing can mean more to me than to receive an award from you as a defender of democracy, but receive an award that's given in the name of the late, great, wonderful giant of a man, Elijah Cummings. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Well deserved, and congratulations to you, sir. All right, moving on. So next, I shared in the beginning of this program a little bit about our turnout numbers, why they were so successful. Folks, that wasn't by design. It took a lot of effort and a lot of success that went into that is responsible. The person responsible for that is our first vice chair, Mr. Herb Smith, and his two lieutenants for our coordinated campaign, Ms. Becca Nyberg and Sean Ford. This trifecta, if you will, in Howard County completely turned things upside down and had us deliver a historic voter turnout. I want to tell you a little bit about that success. No better person than our first vice chair, Mr. Herb Smith, to share that story.
Shahan, I thought I was the most excited one, hype person on the committee, but you definitely have that award, my brother. Good evening, Democrats in Howard County and around the state of Maryland. You got to excuse me, I'm going to be looking down here a lot. I don't want to leave everything out. And excuse me if I get a little choked up. This is very personal to me. Thank you again for joining our virtual celebration. This last year has been very challenging. We've had many ups and downs. And thank goodness we ended it with changing the direction of the country. Like Jeremy, this was very personal with me. I was there 4 years ago. I was actually at the DNC when we lost. I was one of Secretary Clinton's directors, running her operations out of DC and some of the cost centers around the country. And so after I cried, like probably most of us, the last 4 years, I got to work. As many of you know, I was on board with President. I mean, yeah, I guess I can say that now with President Biden from the very beginning. I started the Maryland for Biden social media group. I was on the state leadership team. I started Howard County for Biden, and then when we won the primary, I knew what we had to do. I sat down with Shahan and I put together a plan. I said, look, let's get our political groups together. Let's get our activist groups together. Let's get our constituencies groups together. And I saw what we did 4 years and I knew what we had to do. Wherever I was, whether it was a Democratic area or a Republican area, I was gonna at least, do what I do my small piece for the world. And I think with this award, which is the Howard County Coordinated Award, is very special to me because we're honoring the most important part of politics, the most important part of campaigning, and that is the heart of a volunteer. The heart of the volunteer are the people we put the work on, the people who do it for free, the people who do the work when they come home from school, when they come home from work, when they take care of their family. And we have two good ones. We have Sean Ford and Becca Nyberg. I like to call them my left hand and my right hand. Many times we stayed on the night arguing about let's get it done. Sean would hang up the phone on me. Becca would call me up yelling. And I was just like, hey, we got to get it done and we have to work together. Because of what they did, along with some great volunteers here in Howard County, we got 84%, the largest in the state. And I know Shahan said that 4 times again, but I would like everybody here just to take a second and give everybody around the state and everybody in Howard County who put in that hard work. And before I let Sean and Becca say a few words, I would just like to let you all know all the great hard work we did with our coordinated campaign. And many of you all were out there with us, and so you saw what we did. We passed out 1,000, well, I would say probably about 8,000 signs all around Howard County. 2 days a week, we would have hundreds of people who would come and pick up these yard signs, and we would plant them around Howard County. We would get calls all throughout the week, all throughout the night, getting those yard signs and putting together that plan to do it. Sean putting together the sign waves that we had in Howard County. Becca sending out massive emails all around Howard County and the state and helping me update our state site and the Howard County coordinated site. And what I'm also proud of is the constituency groups that we had. We had Howard County Women for Biden-Harris. We had my man Tim Lattimore, who ran Howard County Environmentalist for Biden-Harris. We had Howard County for Women for Biden-Harris. We had our treasurer Deval Shaw, who ran APPI for Howard County for Biden-Harris. And we also had, you can't mention her name enough, we had the Miss Lovely May Beal, who I don't know how she gets all this work done. My God. She ran our seniors operation. And I just can't tell you enough what Sean did. Sean, for 3 nights out the week, along with his job, because you know we all get paid for this, right? Along with his job, held phone banks where we called around the state. Not around the state, around the country. We not only helped out Biden-Harris, but we also helped our candidates on down ballots. We had Becca Ford, who also did our weekly newsletter. I just can't talk about the work that they did. They put in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours. And the reason I chose them was for the direct work that they did. Sean has been a stalwart in Howard County politics since I came back here 4 years ago. And then I met Becca, who was involved. I can't even remember how many organizations she's involved with. I mean, and along with me calling her up every night, hey, Becca, we do this. Can you send this email to this? Can you send an email? And I think this is an award that we are going to do annually because we're giving it to the heart of a volunteer, which is you all. And the perfect story, about Becca, when we would have people who wanted to get involved, but they didn't want a phone bank or didn't want this. And so Becca was like, you know what, we're gonna have everybody gonna be involved in something. And so the people who didn't want to be involved in this and be involved in that, at the end of the day, Becca would have them do postcards. So we also did postcards, which we sent around the country. A lot of times we bought our own stamps for them, for candidates, for issues. It was an amazing job, amazing job. So I would like to thank Sean and Becca. And before I let you talk, I would just like to say this. We started a saying at the Howard County Democratic Central Committee a couple of years ago. And when because of course we all get paid for this and we get a lot of money. But when we have somebody who's a volunteer who just goes extraordinary beyond the duty, and when you're like most of you all on this call do, we like to say thank you for your service. And it's kind of an inside joke, funny thing, but we always say thank you for your service. And Sean and Becca are laughing now. What I would like to say from the bottom of my heart, as somebody who's probably been on 20 coordinated campaigns around the country, I would like to thank you all for your service, and we could not have gotten this done. And Howard County and this country owes you a great debt. And so without further ado, Sean, you can take it away, and then Becca, you can follow. Thank you very much. I love you all to death, and thank you everyone who's on this call.
Thank you so much, Herb. That was a really great introduction. I just want to say how privileged I was to work with you and with Becca in this campaign, in the 2020 campaign. I think it was really, some of the most important work I've ever done in my life. And I think a lot of us feel the same way about this election. I wanted to talk a little bit about what we did on the coordinated campaign. We had over 11 phone banks, over 340 volunteer shifts filled. We had a number of elected officials come and kick our phone banks, including Delegate Atterbury, Delegate Hill, Senator Hester, Delegate Ebersole, Delegate Lierman, Delegate Watson, County Executive Ball, Congressman Sarbanes, Comptroller Franchot, Clerk of the Court Roby, Registrar of Wills McFarland, Sheriff Harris, and State's Attorney Gibson, among others. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for helping us kick off phone banks, get volunteers fired up, and make calls in the critical swing states that really made a difference in this election. Also want to say to my co-chair, Becca, thank you so much for working with me and putting up with so much. I think we did a really good job bringing a lot of people together, and I loved every minute of it. And I also wanted to thank Lethea and Safe from the Biden campaign for working with us. And again, I want to thank Herb for asking me to help with this. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Herb actually brought me to my first, during the primary, my first Biden for Maryland meeting back in July of 2019. And that's how I got involved with the Biden campaign, was with Herb. So I just want to say thank you to Herb for that, and for bringing me into this. I can't say thank you enough. And to Chair Rizvi and all the members of the Central Committee, thank you for letting me do this and working with Becca and everyone else. So I'll leave it there. And I just want to, I do want to hold up my award though. This was a phenomenal award and I really, really appreciate it. And I just want to say thank you to everyone on the call tonight for supporting the Central Committee. It's a really important thing to do so we can continue to do these things in future elections. And with that, I'll turn it over to my co-chair, Becca.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the Central Committee for this honor. I spent my whole adult life fighting for the forgotten, the marginalized, and the misunderstood, both in my role as an immigration attorney and in my time in the community. The 2016 election came as a really stark reminder that those of us in this fight very rarely can afford to take a day off, because the very things we fight against can rear their ugly heads at any moment, especially when fueled by the previous narcissistic White House occupier. What we saw over the past 4 years was a shell of our democracy and resembled more of an oligarchy, excluding instead the diversity that makes our citizenry great and our communities great. Even this week, even in our supposedly inclusive community, we saw white supremacy literally adhere to the infrastructure of 2 of our diverse neighborhoods. But there's hope. Beyond the first woman vice president, we have hope in the form of Kristen Clark, the first American head of the DOJ Civil Rights Division, Shakita Brooks LaSure, the first African-American woman to head the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare, an all-female White House communications team, the second and third woman in history to lead U.S. military commands, and Karine Jean-Pierre, the first American woman in decades and only the second in history to lead a White House press briefing. This history is only possible because of the efforts that you all made to return sanity to the executive branch. And truth be told, we were successful because of all of you. First of all, big thank yous to my co-chairs, Herb and Sean. I feel like we are a band of siblings at this point. As Herb said, there might have been some bickering, but when it came down to it, we really came together, and it was an honor and a joy working with both of you. And thank you for keeping our crazy ship headed in the right direction. I also want to thank the heads of our different issue groups. Like Ms. May said perfectly earlier, if I forget anyone, please blame my head, not my heart. Steve Bolin, McNeil Brown, who was really the postcard guru extraordinaire, Garima Bot-Hanley, Tim Latimer, Devil Shaw, Pat Thomas, Daniel Zhang, and Natalie Ziegler. We also had, of course, our phone bank queen, May Beal. And we can't forget the efforts of our clubs, the members of Western Howard and Ellicott City, the Columbia Democratic Club, and the Thurgood Marshall Club. We would not have had that highest recorded vote in history if it weren't for all of their efforts and all of yours. Thank you to everybody who wrote postcards, who made calls, who waved signs, who encouraged other people to vote, and themselves then went out and voted. It was a collective effort, and thank you all for being a part of it. Thank you again for the honor. I can also hold up my flag, and I'll see you all in the fight to defend our democracy, making sure those good candidates win in 2022 too.
Thank you, Becca. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Herb Smith. This trifecta, they changed Howard County. They literally did, and we will thank them for a very, very long time for really strengthening our party. Thank you, folks, for your service. All right. Next, we're moving on to our last 2 speakers. I'm very excited to present our next speaker, Delegate Brooke Lierman, someone that knows a little about tenacity, constituent services, and just working really hard for her community. Every time I talk to Brooke, I get to meet her, get to learn a little bit more about her. She leaves me more and more impressed, and just her drive and ability to work hard for her people. I always look at how hard people work for their people. Brooke is definitely among one of them. Please welcome Delegate Brooke Lierman, and also candidate for Comptroller for 2022. Brooke Lierman.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Shahan. Thank you to the whole Howard County Democratic Central Committee for hosting this incredibly timely and amazing event. Shahan and May, also a huge shout out to you. Thank you. And great to see my old sweet mate on here, Maureen. My name again is Brooke Lierman. I'm a delegate from the 46th District in Baltimore City, although today I spent my day in Ellicott City with Delegate Watson, and I'm on with all of you. And of course, my treasurer is Candace Dodson-Reed, so I feel a lot of love for Howard County, and it's great to see you all. And congratulations to all the awardees, really amazing awards. So I'm so proud to share this Zoom call with all of you and to really be on the front lines of all of these important and outstanding efforts that we're taking right now, is asked to talk a little bit about what defending democracy means to me. And I have to say, a lot of it, I think so much of it is what we are seeing in the newspaper these days, or not in the newspaper, with democracy under assault from Republicans around the country. I think everybody on this call really understands that it's up to us, right? I am so encouraged that our party, led by our amazing president and vice president, led by Yvette Lewis here in the state, and by Jamie Harrison, nationally, that we're bolstered by the strong leadership that we see, these leaders who are really fighting to restore and save our democracy. Of course, building democracy and defending democracy shouldn't be a partisan issue, but unfortunately, that's what it's become, and that's the reality, and we have to keep standing up, because defending democracy is about defending public schools, right? Defending democracy is about teaching civics and critical thinking, and defending democracy is about ensuring access to local news, state news, and national news that is timely and accurate. Coming off the last administration, I think democracy was kept afloat by dedicated civil servants, right? And intrepid reporters who are able to peel back the curtain and really expose the corruption and cruelty often of what was going on. And so I want to highlight today the freedom of the press. A free and independent press is just critical to a functioning democracy, whether it's at the federal level or right here in Maryland. And sadly, that free press is under attack from bad faith actors who cry fake news at any story that they don't like, or vulture capital firms, frankly, who buy up newspapers to make a quick buck and then sell them off for their parts. And I think it's so important and timely that we talk about this today, because we are actually making national news ourselves in Maryland because of what's happening with the Baltimore Sun, the Capital Gazette, and other local newspapers that we rely on. The nation has been watching our efforts to lead and to save local journalism through the Save Our Sun campaign. I was really proud to lead efforts to rally my great General Assembly colleagues on here, from Senator Guzzone and Delegate Feldmark, Eversaw, Hill, and others, to make sure that we put in letters of support in favor of local ownership for the Baltimore Sun, for the Gazette, and all of the Tribune newspapers. Why? Because we know as elected representatives that representative democracy only works with a citizenry that's armed with facts and information. And while the Sun is not yet in the hands of local owners, I can promise you that we will all continue to fight for a free and independent press. As a leader in this fight, and along with my colleagues, we will continue to pass laws that bring more sunshine to government, because we understand that requiring more institutions to disclose records and mandating proactive disclosure is so imperative. When people understand what government is doing, then government works better. So thank you so much. And I should finalize by saying, I truly and sincerely hope that we will never give up trying to pass the For the People Act, because it is fundamental to saving democracy in this country. So thank you to Congressman Sarbanes for all of his efforts. A huge thank you to all of you for the important and imperative work that you do. I'm really excited to be a partner and to work with all of you to build a better Maryland and to keep defending our democracy. So thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Lierman. We are so blessed for your presence tonight on our call, and good luck in your race, ma'am. All right. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to welcome Delegate Jessica Feldmark of District 12, also co-chair of our Howard County delegation, and just a hard worker all around Howard County for decades, just doing great work. Delegate Feldmark, the floor is yours, please.
Well, thank you, Shahan. Thank you to Jamie Harrison, to all of this evening's speakers, to the entire Central Committee, and thank you so much to every one of you for being here and for still being here. This has been a tremendous program, and I know it's getting late. I'm going to ask you to bear with me for just a few more minutes, because when we talk about defending democracy, I think we have to take a look at the remarkable work the Maryland General Assembly did this year regarding elections. Around the country, we've seen examples of systematic disenfranchisement as state legislatures have rolled back voting rights, sometimes chipping away, sometimes slashing away. But here in Maryland, I'm pleased to report that we worked hard this session to expand access to the ballot. And as a member of the Election Law Subcommittee, I'm particularly proud of what we accomplished. We expanded early voting, both in terms of increasing the number of early voting centers required so that it's easier for more Marylanders to get to an early voting center near where they live or work, and in terms of increasing the hours that early voting centers are open. So it's easier to fit voting in around long work schedules and busy daily routines. We made sure early voting centers would be as conveniently located as possible by requiring local boards of elections to select early voting sites, considering factors including accessibility to historically disenfranchised communities, proximity to dense concentrations of population, accessibility by public transportation, equitable distribution through each county, and maximization of voter participation by using community centers and public gathering places as locations for early voting centers. We enhanced mail-in voting, increasing access and improving the process in several ways. We established procedures for determining the locations of ballot drop boxes, set security standards for ballot drop boxes, required chain of custody procedures to be established by the State Board of Elections. And for those who have fully embraced the convenience of mail-in ballots, we created a permanent absentee ballot list. So in the 2022 and 2024 elections, every eligible voter will receive an application for a mail-in ballot with the option to request to receive mail-in ballots for all future elections. We adopted measures to make it easier for college students and members of the military to register to vote and easier for them to vote. And we ensured that all eligible voters who are incarcerated at the time of an election will still have an opportunity to vote. And last, but certainly not least, we limited the impact of big money in our gubernatorial elections. As the House sponsor of the Maryland Fair Elections Act, I'm especially proud of this legislation. Public campaign financing helps rein in the outsized influence that large campaign donors have had on our political process and our public policy. And it restores public confidence in our electoral system and makes running for office accessible to a much broader and more fully representative universe of potential candidates. The Maryland Fair Elections Act fixes our existing public financing program by creating a tiered small donor matching system and by ensuring that the program is funded so it can actually be used. We did a lot of important work this year on elections. And as you know, though, alongside all the legislative work we do in Annapolis, the most important piece of the puzzle is right here on the ground, getting folks registered to vote and making sure they cast their ballots. We want every eligible voter to have a voice in this upcoming election. As Howard County Democrats, as we've heard tonight, you should be proud. We did tremendous work in 2018 and we did phenomenal work in 2020, both here at home and helping out in other states. But we need to be prepared to work harder than ever in 2022. We know it tends to be easier to mobilize people against something than to mobilize them for something. And history has taught us that means 2022 is going to be a tough year for Democrats. Traditionally, things don't go so well in the midterm election after we take back the presidency. But I've been looking around this virtual room all night, and I think this is a crowd that's ready to buck tradition. Complacency is a powerful and dangerous force, but it's not nearly as powerful as committed, consistent grassroots organizing. And that is exactly what we need to dedicate ourselves to for the next year and a half. So I'm going to thank you in advance for all the work I know you'll be doing. And as we wrap up this evening, I simply want to say, let's get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Feldmark. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. What a beautiful night it's been. Please bear with me as I run through my sponsorship list one time. We just could not have done this event without our sponsors. I do also want to recognize Baltimore County Central Committee member Danielle Smith's also with us. We failed to acknowledge her earlier. Thank you, Danielle. We appreciate you supporting Howard County. And real quick, I'll do this very fast, but I do want to just show justice to our sponsors. Thank you to our protectors of democracy, Maryland Attorney General Brian Frosch, Congressman Mfume, Congressman John Sarbanes, Irfan and Ira Malik. Those are our protectors of democracy, our champions of democracy, Comptroller Peter Franchot, as well as candidate for governor John King of former Obama secretary, as well as Senator Clarence Lamb, Delegate Eric Ebersol, Delegate Jessica Feldmark, Delegate Terry Hill, Senator Guy Guzzone, Delegate Vanessa Atterbury, Delegate Shane Pendergrass, Delegate Jen Tarasa, Delegate Brooke Lierman, Howard County Executive Calvin Ball, Clerk of the Court Wayne Roby, Councilman District 2 Opal Jones, Councilwoman District 3 Christiana Mercer Rigby, Jeanette Flame, Chair for Calvert County Democratic Central Committee, Dwayne Rager, Lauren Elyard, as well as Jeremy Eldridge, Double Shah, Devang Shah, Bell Leong Hong, Mary Catherine Cochran, Sean Ford, Sue Geckel, Abby Hendricks, Deanna Peel, Marsha White, and Becca Nyberg. Woo! All right, thank you, sponsors. I hope that was worth your money. I certainly had an amazing time at this program. Thank you for supporting Howard County Democrats. Tune in for our programs. We have the Howard County Fair coming up next, as well as our annual Labor Day picnic, which we are trying to target as our real official first in-person event in light of the progress we've made because we've elected Joe Biden as president and our vaccine rollout game is strong. Thank you, Howard County. Good night. Thank you, Democrats. We'll see you there for 2022. Be ready. Thank you.